Hey, I'm John Garrett, the author of What's Your And the best advice I've ever gotten is if it doesn't resonate with you, then don't take anyone's advice.
Oh, dude, that's powerful. Hey, look at that. I got a copy of the book too.
What? Holy
Yeah.
cow. Look at you,
Oh
man.
my gosh. What a
Look at you.
oh my gosh, it's even autographed. Holy crap. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
well, mine is not. So you must know somebody because
I do.
like
Yeah. I'll sign my copy and send it back to you. Okay.
okay, actually that would
Yeah.
probably increase the value significantly. So thanks, Phil.
Sure. Yeah, John. I'm so glad you're here, man. It's fun to talk to you again. I mean, the new book, I have to tell you, right, is genius. It's fantastic.
Oh, well,
And your
thank you so
advice,
much, man.
yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I say that because it's not traditional advice. I mean, so much stuff out
Yeah.
there. John, I've got 7 steps to being successful in corporate, right?
I think I just threw up a little bit. Like,
Right?
because
Yeah, it makes you wheezy.
yeah, your 7 steps might not work for me. So, or maybe I only need 3 of them. So, it's just, yeah. And I mean, that advice is, just if you're too busy chasing everyone else's advice, then you'll never get to where you're meant to be and who you're meant to be. So,
Yeah,
take it or
totally
leave
agree.
it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's so prescient, right? It's so easy to think about, but it's so often hard to do. And I think that's really interesting, right? Lou Holtz in your forward says, if you care about others at work and find out about their outside of work passions, create a winning team that everyone wants to be part of, and that he's excited for you. I guess that's me and you to read this book and learn how small adjustments make a world of difference.
Yeah.
And nothing in there says, hey, this is the most brilliant stuff you've ever heard. But I
Right.
would say
Yeah.
that is the brilliance, right? The fact that it's not the same schlock,
Yeah.
formulaic garbage that everybody else writes, I
Right.
think is really important. So, John,
Well, thank you so much, man. That means a lot because I know you read a lot of books. So I really
do.
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's think about that, right? Let's talk about that. Let's rewind to where you figured out your and because you were what? You're a funny guy, and no, you're a CPA, right? You're a freaking CPA, and still we're friends. How does that happen? Talk to me.
Well, I wasn't, I'm still not, I don't know. I passed the exam and, I was in that world for, about 7 years. And, and then left that to do stand-up comedy full time. And I was doing it at night for fun and, just as a hobby. And and so then, made that leap, but I don't advocate that anyone does that. It's crazy hard and it's insane. So don't do that. Most people have a hobby and keep it as a hobby. You're probably not good enough to make a living at it, to be honest. So, and you're not supposed to be. That's why it's a hobby. It's something that's fun and it lights you up.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, right? So many people are looking for the next hustle, instead of
right.
It's my job and it's my hobby, which I think is really important. Like, I don't know anybody that's going to pay me to be a professional pinball player. John, do you? Do you know someone?
Man, if they did, you'd be in heaven. Like that would be amazing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, or maybe not, because then it would be work.
That's true.
So maybe not, right? Yeah. So I think that's one of the instructive things as we think about this is that it's okay to just be your and let's remove the just and say it's okay to be your and. It's okay to be who you are, who you want to be, and that's different. And I think your subtitle is really smart, right? Unlock the person inside the professional.
Yeah,
really smart.
Yeah,
because that's really the key here. We want to talk to the person. I mean, the best people that I ever worked with, I have to say, John, they were not the people necessarily that were the best at their job. They're the people that I connected with the most.
Oh, for sure.
Of work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I had a guy remember me. I was speaking at a pretty huge conference, and it was about 900 people. And I'm getting ready to go on stage. Like I'm getting mic'd up. I'm minutes away from being in front of about 900 people. And the meeting professional comes up and says, "Hey, do you know this guy named Mark Bumgarner?" And I was like, "I never heard that name in my life." And she goes, "Well, he knows you. He saw all the speakers and right away said, 'I know John Garrett. That's the guy who did comedy at night.'" And I'm like, who the hell is this Rain Man? Like, how does he remember me? Like, this is crazy. And so I did the homework. He was in my first PwC office 12 years before that. And he worked in the tax department. And I don't know how taxes work. So I never once met him. I never once worked with him. It was unbelievable that he remembered me 12 years later for this hobby that I did of doing stand-up at night. He's like, I remember John. He's, the guy that did comedy. And that's crazy to me. And I think that we all have these hobbies and passions outside of work, and we all deserve to be remembered 12 years later. And for so many of us, we just hang our hats on our technical skills and, well, this is my job and I'm my best at my job. Yeah. I mean, unless you invented something or you're some savant, like the 0.1%, then you're completely forgettable. I mean, you're completely forgettable. And while you're there, work is not as enjoyable. So there's so many benefits to it. And I think we all deserve to be remembered 12 years later.
I totally agree. I think it's interesting. Nobody ever says to me, Phil, I remember back when you were working, you could type 86 words a minute with 93% accuracy. Wow, dude. You were awesome. Nobody says that, right?
Right? But that's what we hang our hat on, because we went to school and our continuing education and all of that is technical skills. And so we think that that's what's so important. And yes, be good at your job. I'm not saying not, but that's the standard. I mean, I'm assuming that we're all good at our jobs, but that's not it. Like, there's more to you, and there's more to what you can do and what you can bring to your company. And what's been really cool is, with all the research that I've done, is to find that there's other expertise that people have from these outside of work hobbies. So even if everyone in your law firm has the same law degree, but your expertise is different because of your personality, your outside of work interests. So it's really your differentiator. And what's really weird is that people don't want to lean into that, and that's the one thing that makes you unique.
Yeah. And the one thing that I think helps you be really who you are and bring your full talent to work, because once people accept you, right, we're able to bring our full self and maybe be willing to go a little bit creatively and think about things, when we think about that, right? So Stan Phelps said something smart. He says, warmth trumps competence every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And that warmth, right, is, so John, what else do you do? What's your man? If we could ask that, I think, wouldn't it be much more powerful as we do that? And you talk specifically about how that elevates the employee experience. Because, we could talk about that for speakers and freelancers. Yeah, that's true. But let's talk about that inside an organization, where I think that's super important. So start with that and what you discovered through your research and your interviews and your great podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we worry so much about the customer experience. And what I found, especially in the professional services world, the white collar nerds that I swim with daily, they're like me. They really forget about the employee experience. And I've talked to a lot of partners and executives that are like, if I lose a manager level person, I'm really in a jam. I mean, but if I lose a client or a customer, well, I can get another one. Not a huge deal. And so it's really taking care of your people. And then in turn, when you take care of your people, then clients will want to come, because your people are going to be happy. They're going to be more engaged, and they're going to be better at client service, better at being trusted advisors, better at all that stuff. And so it's really just looking at, love and care and have a genuine interest in all of the people that you hired, like the whole person, all of their dimensions, as opposed to traditionally professionalism tells us only care about the technical skills part. What's the work that they're doing for us? That's the only part I care about. Are you good at it? What training do you need for your technical skills? And it's like, well, care about that, but there's another, 80 or 85% of a person, that's you're ignoring. And so if you shine a light on those pieces, that bigger part of who they are and what really lights them up, then this other part will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting and so true. I've found in the folks that I've worked with, either in corporate America or who I consult with, because when you find out their why, what really makes them tick, often that's their and, it's not their before. Right? It's not, that's John loves being a CPA. No. And he is a comedian, and he loves that. And that then lets him infuse all of his work with a sense of humor, a sense of comedy, a sense of
Right.
camaraderie, and actually build stuff. So I do think that helps our employee experience. But how do we start that, John? How do we start with an employee experience? If I'm a new manager and I've been told the whole time, oh my gosh, focus on getting as much as you can out of your team.
Yeah.
And you and I both know that it's important to care about the whole person.
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
we start that, John?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important if you show an example, if you lead by example, if you're setting the tone for your group, it makes it a lot easier. I mean, people can still amongst themselves create a little circle of sharing these outside of work interests. But if you can set the tone at the top, it makes you a little bit vulnerable. It makes you human, because it's hard to forget, or it's hard to remember rather, that when these 22-year-old kids are coming out of college, and I said kids because I'm that old. And so they come out of college and, they look up to you as you're this invincible, all-knowing being. And, no, I'm just a regular guy who likes college football and ice cream and comedy, it's just, and so you can create those connections with people over something that's outside of work. And that conversation is just a much easier thing to have. So maybe it's hanging some pictures in your office, or having some trinkets on your desk, or the wallpaper on your computer, or it's opening that door to someone to say, hey, ask them, what's your and, because it's not an or. You're not a lawyer or a painter, or you're not an accountant or a cyclist. You're not, you're an and so it's just ask them, what's your and I find too that, I guess psychologically, there's this reciprocity that has to happen. If you share your outside of work interest, then the universe out of balance, and people will have to share it back. And so it's kind of cool. So you share first, and then it also shows that it's okay to be human. That I'm a regular person that has other interests, and actually having other interests is okay. And not only is it okay, it should be mandatory.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's not just mandatory, because that's forced and that's compliance. But I think
that's true.
Right. But by that, I mean, by going first, we give the space, we offer them that opportunity here. And one of the stories in your book, I would have never expected. You talk about Ben Westbrook. He's a director of tax operations. Yeah. He also used to sing opera. John, that's even weirder than you, man. How does that happen? Right? How do tax
awesome.
Right? Is that even possible?
It's so cool. In a huge accounting firm in New York City. He's a tax operations guy now, and he has his 2 music degrees hanging in his office there, and such a great guy. And his quote really supports that of how that's another example of how his outside expertise makes him better at his job. He's used to singing opera in front of huge theaters. So when his boss comes to him and says, hey, we have to give a presentation, he doesn't even have to think twice. I'm used to being in front of people. I've been exercising this muscle outside of work for years. So you put me in front of an audience, that's where I thrive. That's my home. And so, that's just such a great example. But instead, a lot of companies look at, well, who's been here longest? We'll use that person. Well, maybe that person likes jigsaw puzzles and should never be in front of an audience, but they're really good at something else. So, or when it comes to staffing clients, what kind of clients do you put on? If an opera singer comes in to have tax work done, Ben should be the one talking to them. They know the same lingo, they can hang out, they both think they're both awesome. Somebody like me that has never even been to an opera, I would, yeah, sure, I could do the tax work. Can I really relate? Can I actually create that relationship, that stickiness? That's really where it's all about.
Yeah, well, so a couple things there. Let's break that down. When we're thinking about sales teams and how that works, right? If they have an outside interest, first of all, if that's an in common, right? If John and I both like opera, holy crap, right? This is an opportunity here. Even if we don't perform, but go deeper, now our and is opera, which makes that stickier. B, it leads to more referrals, right?
Oh,
because
totally.
now, oh my gosh, this is the one firm that's got opera singers employed as tax people. And then third, it's talkable, right? You improve your word of mouth
Oh yeah.
by giving people, if you will, to steal Jay Baer's word, right? It's a talk trigger.
Right.
Oh, that
Right.
accounting firm that has an opera singer. So there's
Yeah.
3 quick benefits there, really simple,
Yeah.
without even trying, by just improving your employee experience and asking the question. So
Yeah.
what's your and, right?
Yeah, yeah. And Ashley Bima is another great example of that, where she makes these amazing cakes. I mean, they should be in a magazine. They are crazy amazing. And so she creates Oreos chocolate covered Oreos with the firm logo on them, and gives them to clients when they do some work with them. And I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's just that's your differentiator. She loves making these baked goods and doing this creative work. Let her do that, and then let her share it and bring it to work. I mean, whatever your company does or whatever you're selling, the differentiator is rarely, the technical skills and what the work that you do. It's how do you do it? How do you relate to the client? And then how do your employees relate to each other? That's really the differentiator. And so we're so scared to share that side because it seemingly has nothing to do with our job, but it actually has everything to do with our job.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that gets back to your best advice, right? If it doesn't resonate, if what you share doesn't resonate with anyone, right? I mean, it's okay, because frankly, it doesn't need to. If it resonates with one more person, like I talk about pinball, right? And you were kind enough to include a little quote from me in your book.
For sure, man. That was so good.
Yeah, thanks. But I think, pinball is a great metaphor for all of life. And we think about that, right? We have to share that in there.
Yeah.
We have to share that in there. And I'm just going to quickly share a little quote here that you attribute to me here. You said, why not just be yourself? Because honestly, we can share what makes us different. Then we can see what makes us the same. And I think it's important to be brave. And I say be brave because someone has to go first. And it's not often the first person that makes the biggest impact. It's that second person.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, as a leader, we go first, but we make it safe for that person to go second. And then we create some energy, right? Then we create then it's more of a habit and a practice instead of just an accident.
Yeah, it becomes more normalized, I guess, where, then it actually starts to become part of the culture, where this is what we do. We talk about outside of work interests. We share them. We shine a light on them. We celebrate them. And that way, then, when you come into work, or even if you're talking to clients and if you ask them specific questions of, hey, I know you were running a marathon over the weekend, how was it? How did it go? Or, hey, I know you were going to see that new movie. Like, how was it? And that way, then it shows people that you genuinely care about them. And in turn, they're going to genuinely care about you back, because it's like, wow, you actually care about me. It's not just, hey, do you have that report? Hey, are you going to make that sale? Or, hey, are you, we'll get to that. But, I actually care about you. And then you can have that conversation. And I found that if you lead with the and conversation first, it's easier to then take that to, okay, so by the way, how's that, what's the sales status, and whatever. But if you lead with the sales status, it's super awkward to take that then to, oh yeah, and you were going to see a movie. How was it? Because then it's a throwaway. It means that you really don't care,
Yeah, for sure. And I think also when we lead with that, we have to slow down and actually listen to what they have to say.
Huge
I mean,
point.
That's really big. As a leader, sometimes we get someone to check in the box. Oh, John says I should ask their answer. What's your answer? Okay, great. And now we're going to talk about the sales status. No, stop. Shut up.
Yeah.
Pay attention. Don't think about the thing. So when you ask, what's your and, as John brilliantly mentions in the book, right? And you'll see I got lots of notes here. So we'll probably go for a couple hours. There's a lot there that we can focus on in a lot of different ways, which is where no one piece of advice is perfect for anyone, which I think is what makes this book so good, John.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. That really means a lot. And at the end, the module 3 has 9 different examples that I've seen in the real world of how this is played out. And I'm really reluctant to share that. And I say it in when I get into that module, because what works at your company might not work at another company, or what you read in this book might not work for you, but these are ideas for you to take and then make them your own. They have to be tailored. They have to be customized. It has to be something that you'll actually do. It's one of those things that's simple but not easy. I think just like people tell me, I know I'm supposed to go to the gym, but I don't. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. And even if I go in, I don't know what to do, or you see all these people that are lifting all these crazy big weights, and I'm like, I don't know what to do or how to do it, or it's not my thing or whatever. But if somebody were to take me and, take me to the gym and be like, well, let's customize something that you'll actually do, then I would probably go, And so it's kind of that kind of concept for companies to just take a couple of these things, 2 or 3, or 2 or 1, and, just do it and then see what happens. Start to see the conversations that happen, start to see how people share, how people interact, how it transfers over into your client work. And then that's when that change is happening. And then the more it happens and the more you reinforce it, then it becomes part of your culture. And that's that model of your culture core, because I look at it kind of as an apple of, your company is made up of people, but your people are made up of passions. And so the core of your company, that culture core, is your people's outside of work passions and interests and their personalities. Because if I take your sales department, let's say, and I remove everyone and I replace them with people that have the same degrees and same certifications, sure, the work gets done and the sales are done, but it's a completely different company, a completely different department. And so what's your differentiator isn't necessarily just your people, it's your people's outside of work passions and interests.
Definitely. And we forget that so often because we get so locked in to doing the work in the right way, or doing the work in what we think is the right way. It's funny that you mentioned your culture core, because that was actually something that I was going to mention there. And I think it's so simple, but it's so not easy to remember. But if we take time every day, right? I like your suggestion here. You said take one idea, ask what you're and then see what happens, right? See what happens in the book. And you've got lots and lots of action items here. One that I want to share is your fun one that you talk about, email signatures. And I think, right, that's so simple. So talk to us about the power of email signatures and how we can use your AMP.
It's so great. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of this doesn't have to be in your face, like, it's just subtle little things. Notre Dame football helmet right here behind me, wherever it is. Yeah, Notre Dame football helmet behind me. Clearly he likes college football. He likes Notre Dame. There you go. It's not in your face. It's just, there it is. And it's an email signature is such a perfect way. And it's also something that you can mix up. You can change. So Gusto is a payroll company, and they cleverly do in their email signatures, they'll have everyone put whatever their passion is with Gusto. So it'll be Phil plays pinball with Gusto. Which is pretty awesome. So, but then it's just in your email signature. And so if some people see it, great. Some people don't, also great. But the people that see it are like, wow, that's awesome. And then conversations start. The next time you talk to that person, you're gonna be like, pinball? Like, what's that all about? And then all of a sudden, or maybe they also love pinball, and then you're best friends for no reason. And so there you go. Oh, wait, for some reason, I think the audio dropped. So maybe, there we go.
John, so So with that, right, I think that pinball absolutely connects us very well, right? Email signatures, kind of a subtle way to go get it. So let's, as we kind of get wrapping up here, Stan Phelps, he's a domer. I'm not sure if it's because he's bald or if he's actually, a domer. I'm not going to judge Stan on that. But,
hilarious.
And he says he's a Gusto customer, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you think about this?
Dan, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
As we get this moving here, give us 1 or 2 more ways, John, that we can put this into practice in our teams, please.
So I mean, just care. I mean, just have a genuine interest in the people around you. It's that easy. Just find out who they are, find out and especially now that we're working remotely, it's so crucial to really have those relationships that go beyond surface level. Those people that we pass in the hallway, hey, how you doing? Fine. All right, fine. And then you think that you have a relationship, but you really don't. And so, now that, especially a lot of us are working remotely, like creating those connections that are deeper, really, really pays off in the long term. And just care. I mean, it's sad that you have to say that, but we get so focused on work and the tasks that need to get done. And I'm just going to get this done and then get out of here. No, take 5 minutes to just have a conversation with somebody about what lights them up. Remember that, and then ask them about it again. Or maybe you see something on their desk, or you see some pictures, on their wall. Ask them about that, because everybody loves to talk about their you don't always love to talk about your work. Sometimes it's not great. Sometimes it's not interesting, even to you. But your always interesting. Always, always, always.
Yeah, I love that, right? Take a genuine interest in people, really ask, really care. Don't just check the box, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Love that, John. So, folks, if you're looking to find your or how you can implement your John's book is awesome. It's called What's Your If you go to what'syourand.com, you can get the book. You can also check out his podcast, which is really good in spite of the fact that I've been on the show. So, congratulations on that, John. I appreciate that. And no, it's really good stuff, man. So thank you for that great advice that you gave us about if it doesn't resonate, don't do it. But I promise, folks, if you're thinking about how can I get my team to perform a little bit better, there's like 100 examples between the book and the podcast that you can use to leverage What's Your So congratulations, John. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
No, thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate it. And I have a buy one, give one offer actually for people.
Let's talk about that.
So if people you buy one, you send me the receipt on this form, and then I will email one of your friends digital code to download the book. So just spread the message and make the world a little bit better and make your friends smile. So there you go.
Absolutely. So unlock the person within the professional. Get a copy of the book. You know what? You could even email it to your boss. And John won't tell that he's not your friend. It's okay.
Right, exactly.
Right. So
it's an intervention all of a sudden.
That's right. Yeah. It's even easier than placing a copy of a book on your boss's desk because you don't want to give him or her COVID. Really important.
Right. Well, thanks so much, Bill. This has been awesome. So fun to chat with you.
Thanks, John. Really good, man. I appreciate you very much. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Have an awesome day. Find your and get what's your See you later.